I'll open with a reminder of some key employment law principles underpinning how firms should deal with misconduct. I know our audience today is made up of some experienced professionals, so I'll deal with that only briefly. We'll then move on to look at the regulatory landscape, including the conduct rules, fit and proper assessments, and in particular, the FCA's proposed new rules on non-financial misconduct. In the final part of the webinar, we'll bring those issues into practical focus and consider key issues and risks in managing a disciplinary process and identify some areas for good practice along the way. That includes things like getting the right team in place, what support you might need in managing these types of process. We'll look at the concept of legal privilege and how to use that effectively. We'll consider when you might need to suspend an employee. We'll look at how you might respond and deal with common employee objections or concerns. And finally, we'll look at managing employee exits and regulatory references. As the regulator is no longer making decisions on the approval of certified persons, the quality of information passing between firms has become much more important. The FCA's mechanism for dealing with this is the regulatory reference regime. And that's principally to deal with what the regulator calls the issue of rolling bad apples, so individuals with poor conduct records who move from firm to firm. That's relevant for senior managers, for certified persons, and for certain non-executive directors, who will all require a regulatory reference to be obtained before starting in role. Instead of the usual factual-only reference, firms are now required to provide a reference in a mandatory form. And firms giving that reference must comment on breaches of conduct rules, findings that the individual was not fit and proper, or, crucially, any other matters which might be relevant to fitness and propriety. And that reference must cover the previous 6 years of employment. There's some detailed guidance in the FCA handbook about the particular obligations on firms when giving regulatory references. Some of the key points include a general obligation to provide a fuller picture as possible of the employee's conduct history. But that reference also needs to be fair from an employment law perspective, and that usually means an obligation to give the employee an opportunity to respond to the allegations being made against them. The reference should also contain evidence-backed conclusions, so findings made on documented fact, and that means the conclusions should be capable of verification. Finally, firms need to update references when new information comes to light after giving a reference. And I'll also flag the issue of data retention. So in the case of senior managers, certified persons, or non-executive directors, you'll need to retain data for a longer period than might be the case for other employees, because you need to be able to report on conduct rule breaches and fit and proper issues for up to 6 years of employment. And therefore, there needs to be some mechanism for ensuring that information is retained during that period.